So now we've talked a little bit about why leadership is important to you in your world. I want you to have a think about what leadership means to you. What do you think about when you think about a leader or leadership? Do you see yourself as a leader? John Maxwell says, and I quote him a lot because he says so many amazing things. He says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. We tend to get so caught up in our mind about what leadership might be. And I'm going to share with you some leadership myths in a moment. But let's talk about what leadership is. Leadership is the ability to influence somebody. Now, influencing others is an interesting concept within itself. It's particularly important if you're in a sales environment, selling a product or selling your services. It is imperative that you are able to influence people in the direction that you genuinely think that they should go. And there's so many layers to this in terms of where's your motivation, why do you want them to be influenced, and we're going to cover a lot of that as we go through the program. But have a think about your ability to influence people. There's a quote on the internet and it says, if you think, I'm going to just read it off there because I think it's a good quote, I want to get the words right. If you think you're leading and you turn around to see no one following you, you're just taking a walk. Is that kind of how your leadership is at the moment? Do you get all excited about going in a particular direction and you cast vision and you try and get people along and they just don't follow? You don't have an influence on the people in your world. This is what we want to help you develop. We want to help you develop your influence with people. Now you might be thinking, I don't really influence people. I don't have a team yet. My business isn't that big. I'm actually not really in a position where I need to be influencing people yet. Now that is the first mindset that I want you to get over, because no matter who you encounter in your day, you influence somebody. And the art of developing your leadership qualities and your effectiveness as a leader is practicing this in your everyday life, practicing your influence. It was an interesting concept for me when I started to grasp this. I started to notice the influence I was having on people, that I naturally can influence people in a particular direction. And I kind of pondered this a little bit and I felt a little nudge in my mind that kind of went, what kind of influence are you going to be? And I had to sit on this for a little while, because when you are influencing people, and we all do, but when you're intentionally influencing people, you have to decide what kind of influence you're going to be. As I was developing my awareness of my influence and who I was actually influencing, I was trying to practice on everybody, my family and the people in my world. I was leading a team at this stage, and I was at the supermarket one day. I had a really short space of time to duck into the supermarket and back out. I had another meeting in the afternoon, and I just needed to go and get a couple of things before my meeting started. So I parked the car and I raced into the supermarket, and there was a busker outside from memory, but I didn't really acknowledge them. So I ran inside, grabbed a basket I only needed a few things and I only had a short amount of time, grabbed a basket, head over to the fruit and veg section. The first thing on my list was strawberries. And I noticed that there's one punnet of strawberries left on the shelf. I'm like, yes, they're mine. So I go to grab them. And as I do, I kind of, out of the corner of my eye, I notice another hand come over, ready to grab them as well. We kind of bumped hands, and in my haste, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, don't judge me, but I didn't even acknowledge that person. I just kind of pretended I didn't see them, grabbed the strawberries and kept going. I know, it's awful. And then, so I'm grabbing my things, and then as you do when you're at the supermarket, you always get more than what you intended. And my basket starts getting really heavy, and I'm struggling with this basket on my bare arm. You know, the plastic kind of pinches your skin, and so I'm struggling along with this basket. And one of the people that works at the supermarket comes over. They've seen me struggling, and they come over with an empty trolley and said, here you go, put your basket in there. Well, in my mind, yes, I'm so thankful, but I'm also so focused on the rest of my afternoon that I barely even acknowledged them. Again, please don't judge me. And just went, thanks, and just kept going. Then I get to the checkout and I'm just checking emails and text messages as I've loaded all my stuff onto the conveyor belt, and the person says, hey, how's your day? And I go, good. And then I just keep checking my phone and answering a couple of important things that needed my attention in that time. So I get out to the car and I'm driving to my next appointment, and I started thinking about influence again, because I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, and I'm about to go and teach this sort of stuff again. And I'm pondering it, and I just hear this little voice in my head that goes, what kind of influence were you just back there? And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, I didn't have any, I wasn't teaching, I wasn't coaching, I wasn't in a situation where I could influence anyone. But I kind of pondered my last 20 minutes and started thinking about the people that I encountered and what kind of influence I was on those people. Do you remember how many people I came into contact with? There was the person whose strawberries I stole. There was the person that brought me the trolley, the checkout girl, and the busker out the front. 4 people that in a 20-minute time frame that I came into contact with, but probably influenced them in a way that wasn't real positive. You know, the busker, I gave him nothing. I gave him no eye contact, nothing. And when I think back, I think they were actually singing a song that I like. It probably wouldn't have killed me to just even make eye contact and say, I love that song. Or, did you hear? I whispered that. Did you hear me? I love that song. Or chuck $1 in. You know, it wouldn't have killed me to do that. It wouldn't have taken any extra time. When I think about the strawberries, technically I had my hand on the strawberries first, but it probably wouldn't have put me out in any way to just acknowledge them and say sorry, or even give them the strawberries and get some blueberries instead. Really, I probably could have had a little bit of a positive influence on that person by showing a slight amount of kindness in that situation. Then the lady that brought me the trolley, the empty trolley, who knows what kind of day she could have been having. She could have been having a rotten day. She could have been really disheartened by customers, feeling like that we are selfish and ungrateful, and I proved her right in that. It wouldn't have hurt me to just make eye contact and say, thank you so much. That makes my life so much easier, because I did think that, but I didn't verbalize it. I could have just taken 30 seconds to verbalize that, and I could have changed, I'm assuming what kind of day she was having, but I could have set a tone for her for the next few minutes of kindness and of thankfulness, and maybe brightened her day just that tiny little bit. And same with the checkout chick. I could have engaged in a little bit of conversation. I could have asked how her day was going. I could have asked whether she had a long shift, whether she was close to finishing, what she had on for the rest of the day. Just a couple of minutes of engaging in conversation could have made a difference to the way she perceived customers as a whole, or just really just placed some value on her for those few moments. So influence is a tricky thing. It's something that we need to understand. Have a think about all the people that you've come into contact with today. Maybe write them down as you're thinking. Pause me and just have a think about all the people that you came into contact with today and how your interaction with them may have left them feeling. And then go one step further and have a think about how you could have reacted or approach that situation a little bit differently, and the potential of how you might have left them feeling if you did things a little bit differently. I just want to encourage you, bring an awareness of your influence into your world. Start in your home, start with your family, see what kind of influence you can have on them by your intentionality around the way you go about your interaction with them, and then let that flow into your workplace and into your world wherever you are with people.